day, everybody. It is election day in the United States. Hi, Rodney. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
You know what? It's an interesting day. I can't. I got my voting done. I got my sticker. I should have worn it. And I can't wait to see how this all turns out. I think you said it earlier. I'm kind of glad to have this. I'll be glad to have this all over with.
Yeah, if they didn't get so nasty, I think I could tolerate it a little bit more, but it's just nasty. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's just
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
but yeah, I'll be glad for it's over. It's but I think it's gonna what do polls start closing like at 7 p.m. tonight, 7 Eastern?
Yeah, 7 o'clock, and then like some of them are at 11 p.m. and they've been talking. I've been watching quite a bit of coverage today, and some of them are saying it could take a day or two. Which, oh man, I hope not. If it's close,
Yes.
I just. But here's
Well,
the deal.
everybody's predicting. The only prediction that's out there is that it will be close. I mean, a lot of people think it'll be close.
Yeah, absolutely, and I just, I'm ready for it to be done. But I got to tell you, the when I voted this year, and when I vote every year, but this year in particular, I don't know why. I really feel the patriotic surge, because I'm standing in line and you start chatting with other people that, we're all, for a minute, even though the it's there's some deep divisions, there really is. But when you're standing in line, you're getting ready to go vote, you're all on the kind of the same team, whether it's red or blue, you're in there for America, and I get kind of weepy on that. I think it's cool.
Yeah,
I, I do, and I agree with you. If it could be a little less contentious, because when I was growing up, when I was watching, let's bring up some old chestnuts, Reagan and Kennedy, and that dates me quite a bit. There wasn't any of this nastiness so much, But anyway, and I'm not. Hey, Ange, good morning to you, Miss California. But I'm not saying anything other than I agree with you 100%. 100%. Fall is still here
it is. It
in
is got
Tennessee.
great weather in Tennessee. Our weather the last few days, last few weeks have been unbelievable. It's probably a lot like San Diego is every day, 72 and
Yeah. Well, just there you go. And you're such a sweet lady. I really appreciate you. Here we go. We're gonna do which one do we want to do? I want to do this one. Here we go. And we're gonna do watch with Pip. There's the Pip. Bing. There we go. Rodney's
all
ready.
right. Well, let's focus on this week and this range in here since about October 25th. We have went under this blue line right here, which is a 200-day moving average of, and it's providing a pretty nasty ceiling of resistance for us. Um, and you see all the little locks in there.
Yeah.
We actually received two today at like 9:36 and 10:32. You can see it's green though today, so it has recovered since they reissued those locks. But this week has just kind of gone crazy, and this is our floor support right here, and you can see it's kind of bouncing between these two levels, which means there's a lot of volatility right now. And with the election going on and just the craziness of this, how everything else, the rest of the market, um, there's just a lot of volatility until we get into some better floor supports and ceilings of resistance, I should say, where this gap isn't so wide.
And what you're getting at is the hang on. All right, there's Rodney. There's that. Um, the get me in a second. There we go.
Yeah.
Bing.
Just
There.
put
That.
me anywhere in there.
It's just floor support. So I mean, so when you're getting a lock, 77 and sunny and blue skies. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, I mean it's
Love my face in it. When you get a
that
lock, that means
it is
go ahead.
nice that. But go ahead with your question there, Andy.
When you have a lock, that means that they're predicting that there's going to be a sharp rise in interest rates. Is that correct? That's what the lock is about.
Yes, it for foreseeable future, like a really quick 1 to 2 days. There, it's not a long range. It's predicting that somebody should jump on it right then because they know it's definitely getting worse immediately.
Yeah, okay, and so it's just protecting them. Well, all I can say is here we were talking about, and we'll get off this because it's almost too much to bear. Here we were at 618 or something, pretty close to that, I think, a week or so
Hmm.
ago, and now it's 710. So, and Thursday there's going to be another cut, and if you can paint me suspicious if that's going to do any good, I mean,
Right.
what do you
No,
think?
it's not going to affect the mortgage rates, especially right now. The labor markets and inflation is and the 10-year treasury as well is huge for us. And it's actually they should be reporting some kind of they had an auction. I think it was maybe an hour ago. So depending on the government's appetite for those as well, and the market's appetite, I should say, for the 10-year treasuries also affect the 30-year mortgage rate. So um, there's just a lot going on, and with it, especially with the election this week, it's super volatile.
Yeah. Do you think that this is not a fair question? I don't know that it's an unfair question, but best guess maybe is my point. If the election is settled within the next couple of days, let's say that the count comes in and there's enough of a gap that they can sample rate it and say that it's good to go one way or the other. Do you think that the market will settle in reasonably quickly, or do you think it's going to take a minute uh, for the dust to settle once somebody is elected president?
I think it'll settle in pretty quickly. I think it's going to settle in pretty quickly. I mean, it's going to go one way or the other, and in my opinion, the president, the elections and things like that affects it short term, but they would have long term effects depending on what policies they can put in place and depending on if they can pass bills in Congress and Senate and everything like that. So not really. They don't have that much influence. They have a lot of influence, but not that much. It's going
Right,
to
and
settle
it's
down.
right. I have to agree with you because if anything has been proven in this last few years for the American population on the whole, is that the economy is pretty stable in the worst of times, not in the worst, but I mean, it's been bounced around. We've been bounced around a lot here this last few years, and the economy with Powell putting his foot on the brakes and really clamping things down, the economy just almost insists on moving forward pretty powerfully, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, I think the consumers have a good confidence. There's, I think, in one report I saw, the equity in American homes now is
29
there.
trillion.
It's in a really good position. Like each American that owns a home is like 300,000 in equity, and like you can tap into 200,000 of it and still keep your LTV good. So there's
So
a lot of a good, when the real estate sells, they'll have a good position when they go and buy. So yeah, so I
100%.
think consumer confidence is really good, but I think that it's taken its toll, like in credit card debt and things like that, and your monthly bills because of inflation's been so high and costs have been so high.
Yeah, there's people that if you listen to the financial programs, which I do, um, I mean, there's some of them that are making some not terribly dark, but they're throwing out some cautionary warnings, like the debt rooster is going to come home to roost at some point.
Right.
Maybe not next weekend, but they're saying if we don't get a handle on it, that's going to be an issue. So thank you for your input on that. You're way smarter than me. So
It's free, so
no, go ahead. What'd you
that's
say?
what it's worth.
There you go. Well, the first thing that we've got on the docket today, and I just thought this was funny, and I'll tell you the story in a minute, but since we're talking about politics and we're in the housing business, 1 in 3 Americans decide they want to relocate if their presidential candidate loses. Now, if your person doesn't win, are you staying put, Rodney?
I'm thinking about it. If my person doesn't win, I mean, I've heard a lot of threats from people going to Canada and everywhere else, but if my person doesn't win, I'm going to stay put,
I'm gonna,
believe it or not.
yeah, me too. I'll tell you the reason that this caught my eye. Not only is it, I find it interesting, and the article reads, it's pretty interesting read. One of my best friends, somebody that I talk to regularly on every week. I talk to this guy every week, and yes, in fact, I do have friends. How about that? Wow, that's a news break. Hey, where's news break? Where's my button? That's a newsbreaker right there. But he was telling me, and he happens to be on the other side of the fence. I've known this guy probably a decade, and when we have conversations, we don't talk about politics. That's just, we don't, because it wouldn't be fruitful, And I love the guy, at any rate. So I was talking to him the other day, and he goes, if so-and-so wins, I'm moving to Portugal. And I was like, what? Portugal? Why Portugal? And he went on for all his reasons. And it got to me thinking, I wonder how many people actually do that. And they go, maybe I was a little rash. With days to go before the country chooses Harris or Trump, a new survey reveals 1 in 3 Americans want to relocate if they're here I go. Pardon me. Candidate loses, according to a new survey conducted in October by StorageUnits.com. Now that's the bastion of good information right there. A platform for finding storage facilities. That's probably pretty good. That's a good metric, probably. The results of the survey, which took in responses from 3,000 people, illustrate political leanings' intense impact on lifestyle choices, particularly in real estate. So I thought that was housing market buzz connected. Pretty good, huh? Pretty good. A significant portions of Americans desire to be aligned politically with the people in their area, especially those who are politically active. Now, are you familiar with people that in Tennessee, Nashville is known as a blue dot in a red state. You've heard of that, right? Do you ever talk to people that are in that blue dot and they're panicky? You're not hearing me, are you? Hello.
You just cut out on me.
Do you know anybody that's in the blue dot, which is Nashville out of Tennessee, that's a little panicky?
No, the blue folks that I know are way overconfident.
Okay. Okay. All right. All right.
They really are. Yeah, I mean,
They're gonna snuff us out, and it's gonna be a blue state in no time at all, right?
mm-hmm.
All right. The housing market remains challenging across the country, but home equity reached an all-time high in Q2, meaning today's homeowners are in good position to make housing decisions moving forward. So what's driving these potential moves? Harris and Trump voters have very different concerns fueling their thoughts of relocation. Harris supporters are anxious about the national abortion ban, naturally, 54% rising racial inequality and rollback of progressive rights. Other worries include environmental rollbacks and reduced healthcare costs. So here we're going to pop up this thing here. Can you hear me okay, Rodney? I'm just checking.
Good. Yep.
Okay. So here's if concerns motivating the Harris voters to move if Trump was elected. The abortion ban, increased racial inequality, overturned progressive rights, social inequality, environmental deregulation. Do you talk to a lot of people that are worried about that and your blue dot folks?
No, I wouldn't. We don't talk politics. I'm with you there.
Erosion of voting rights, unjust immigration policies, weakened national security, lack of gun regulation. Boy, I tell you, this is true right down to the thing. Weakening of public education, gay marriage reversed, deterioration of relations, increased military spending. They're concerned about military spending. That's interesting. Trump voters, meanwhile, are more focused. This is not going the way I wanted. Just letting you know, sometimes things don't go the way you want. Trump voters, meanwhile, are more focused on inflation, rising cost of living, 72%, blah, blah. Concerns motivating Trump voters to move if Harris is elected. Okay, let's look at that one. Bing. Higher cost of living. I have to, that would be a concern of mine. I guess I'm tipping my hand. Economic deterioration. Would be open border policies, increased taxes, weakened national security, increased government control. You go on down the list. That's a pretty good survey, wouldn't you say? I mean, it seems to.
Yeah, 100%. This is definitely where you can see some stark, clear differences between, if you're a Democrat or a Republican.
Man, oh man, it really does. The division within the United States has become increasingly pronounced.
Was put very well too.
Yep. The division within the United States has become increasingly pronounced in recent years. This polarization is evident in the way people are aligning themselves with political ideologies, often to the extent of considering relocation. Now, let's pause here a minute. When people are coming when they're moving here, when I've moved people here from out of state, mostly the most conversational people are from California talking about this because of that saying, don't California my Tennessee. They're pretty verbal about saying they're gonna, how do I say it? I just say it. Most of the time they're red coming into town. That's just what they're saying. And they ask, are we going to be comfortable? And I don't know how to answer that, but are you familiar with that situation?
Not much at all, actually.
Oh, really? They'll ask that because what's happening, and I'm leading up to a question, what people are trying to do when they're making that initial call from wherever it's from, but usually 90% of the time it's from California. What they're trying to, Portugal, I need to go to Portugal, I guess. What they're trying to figure out is, will they feel at home, or maybe even to go further, will they feel persecuted in some form or fashion? I think they're trying to figure out, making a move is expensive and it's a lot of things. It's really hard. But I mean, on your first conversation, you got to figure out if people are going to hate one political party or another, I think is what's going on there. If people are moving from New York or Chicago area, places like that, politics other than their local politics almost never comes up. It almost never comes up. But I've got a question for you. Do
I,
you
I
think?
will say 100% of my clients. Apologize, don't mean to interrupt. 100% of my clients, I don't think I have never asked them, or they've never even asked me about my political affiliation. Nobody has ever asked that. You
Yeah.
know,
Being at the
but
sharp point of the stick, meaning for realtors, and I bet you this is true across the board. If somebody's making a drastic move for realtors, I bet you they get this. I bet this is a very common occurrence for us. Because talking to the lender, that's money. It's everything's green. There is no red and blue. It's all green with you guys.
yeah.
It's like, I'm happy, good for you. Yay, you. But here's a question that was posed, and I thought it was a good one. Are there any significant psychological or social impacts on people who remain in politically misaligned communities? And I think that the way that's phrased is interesting because you'd have to move into a politically misaligned. You'd have to subject yourself to that, I would think. I mean, you're not living someplace and all of a sudden you're politically misaligned. You're moving into the enemy territory is kind of what I'm saying. Does that make sense to you? Do you think that there would be any psychological or social impact? I bet that. What do you think? Social impact?
I think you could be born into it, right? As well, as you grow up. But I don't know. I don't take that too seriously. But I guess if somebody did and that was their identity, maybe that would be psychological to them. But I'm not too political. You know what I'm saying? I mean, outside of this week and outside of when it's a hot topic, that I don't bring it up usually.
Yeah.
So I don't.
The
It wouldn't psychological. I mean, it's like you're going to be a Titans fan or a Steelers fan or a Southern California fan. You know what I'm saying? You're going to be playing pickleball with people who like to play pickleball or whatever you do. So I think some of that stuff goes by the wayside after this week and this election's over with.
I think it probably does calm down, but I only recently, and I'd never heard of the blue dot thing. I'd never heard of that and ran across it like it was either on Reddit or Facebook or something. I looked it up, and sure enough, I mean, it was like the blue dot is where they have conversation. The blue dot people have their conversations and are in strong agreement as to how things could go and how we're wrong. I guess I need to stake my claim. Let's see what Angie's got. That topic doesn't bother me so much. People have come to California many decades. Your words, not mine. Yeah, yeah, I agree. And the way that I handle it, like with my friend, because there was one guy, he was another good friend. He's passed now. Um, but he and I were friends probably 15 years, and we made a rule to not talk politics because we went out to dinner one Friday night, and politics came up, and he was yelling at me. he was standing up. He's like 6'4", standing up yelling. How can you think like that? I was like,
Yeah.
maybe we should leave politics out of this,
I mean, the country's just about 50-50 divided right now. I mean, it's just crazy.
It's right
It's
down the middle.
Yeah, it's
It is,
it for every person who thinks like you, there's another person that thinks the exact opposite.
and passionately so.
Yes, yes. I mean, it's which is everybody's right. Go vote. You have the right to go vote today for your person, and best of
Absolutely.
luck to them. Yeah, I
And
mean, that's the greatest thing that we have is a fair election, as fair as it can get. I mean, there are people involved and stuff like that, but it's the fairest thing out there. I mean, look at other countries. It's a joke. It's so good. We got it so good. It's crazy. So
And that's why I mentioned that, because I've heard of people that have moved because of the, call it conviction or whatever. And it's just an interesting topic to me, how people think, like I'm 70. And in all the years that there's been a president's change, I mean, when we go through that election every 4 years, I can't think of one instance where a new president got in place and my life changed dramatically. It just didn't. I don't care who's in office. And it just
Yes.
seemed like pretty soon it'll be January 21st, and as I'll be paying my taxes in April, and so what?
It'd be May. The sun's going to come up, and I'm still going to go to work the next day. So that's
Yep. I think much of it depends on how your life is going. I'm telling you, that's absolutely true, because there's been so much made of the finances and stuff that's going on as a motivation to get people in line to go vote. I 100% agree with that. That's what's interestingly enough. That's what brings, when we're talking about motivation. Let's talk about this. Reasons why won't. Let's make sure I got this the right way. Reasons voters would move if their candidate loses, but won't. And this translates, I think, in an interesting way to real estate. First reason people will move, that they'd want to, would be personal finances. There hasn't been. It's 50-50. Most of the time, I think people move, it's for finances. That's what moves you out of one place to another. Now, from some states, we're talking about California, seem to be picking on it, but there's a lot of states that have that, where the property taxes are high, or the local government is tough to take, and there people will move for those reasons. But finances, if there wasn't a financial benefit, they wouldn't be coming here. And the no state taxes really brings people in. And yes, our housing is expensive, but not like some places. We're still middle of the road. Personal emotion attachment to a current location, that'll keep people anchored for sure. It's more expensive, but this is where my friends are. Uncertain job prospects. We talk about that for every person that calls in. They're solid on their job. They've got that part figured out. That must come up a lot when you have people that are relocating, or are they all independently wealthy? Not all, but how is that question
no.
answered?
It's it's just stability of income. That's what we always look at is like if they're moving here, we have remote job letters and all that stuff. It's the same as it always was, except we see a lot of companies that allow their employees to work remote, and so we just get a letter from them. We call it a remote work letter from the company, and it just says, Andy's able to work from Tennessee, although his home office is in, New York City. So,
And there's got to be a lot more of that than there used to be. Is that correct?
100%, yes. I didn't know there wasn't a remote work letter, before COVID.
And since that sort of balanced out, that remote work was going crazy because it had to, and then it balanced out where companies are calling people back to work more locally now. But there's been this hybrid that's come around where some companies are going, I'm saving office funds, office floor space, and some people are able to do it. That's balanced out pretty well, hasn't it? Did I break up? Has the remote working balanced out pretty well, Rodney? Did I lose you? Yellow. Hello. We're going to press forward. Let me know when you can hear me again. I don't know why that's happening. Proximity to children or not wanting to move with children. That's interesting. Healthcare access or coverage needs, proximity to elder parents. I've known a lot of people that have moved close to parents, haven't you? You still with me? Hey, Rodney, You want to dial out, and there you go. He'll be back in just a second. There we go. There we go.
Hey, you
Can you
mind
hear
if I
me now?
rejoin?
Yeah, I'd like that. I lost you for a minute there. Thank you for coming back. Proximity to elderly parents, community ties, immigration. Okay, those are reasons that people would want to move if their candidate loses but won't. So finally, we're going to finish up with, and I thought this was kind of funny. Women are more likely than men to express a desire to leave, with 36% of women willing to move compared to 30% of men. However, while men are more likely to act, women tend to acknowledge that moving is easier said than done. Wisdom. Oh, does that sound coming
Yes.
through okay? Is it coming through better now?
Coming through fine. Yeah. It's amazing that, some of those, a lot of those reasons you would move if your candidate lost, but the reasons you won't move are rational. Oh, well, it would wreck my personal finances. Well, let's not do that. I can't leave my parents. Oh, blah, blah, blah. You
Got a
know.
question, Rodney. I think in order to, I wonder what that, do you mean, does that mean to afford a house or just the cost of living kind of comfort? I wonder.
Yeah,
Hey,
that's
Philip and Wendy are in the house.
nice. That a lot of it depends on how luxurious your lifestyle is, Ange. If you're Starbucks and getting your nails done every week and hair and going to every concert around town,
Getting those
you
nails
got to
did.
drive a Range Rover. I mean, I get it's really lifestyle, but the taxes in Tennessee are very reasonable.
Yeah. Oh, very reasonable. All right. So I think that's if you have a more specific way to ask that might be good. So we're going to move on since nobody's moving. I'm staying put no matter what. The next question on the table, and this could get dicey. So if we duck out of here, because this one gets inflammatory, because Phil's on here, he's gonna tear me apart on this one. Did Bidenomics work? How the U.S. economy fared over the last 4 years? You ready? Putting Make sure I've got all my slides ready. Here we go. Got it. Okay. The now outgoing president inherited a U.S. economy battered by COVID and a looming inflation crisis. I want to comment that The Guardian is written, this is an article by The Guardian, and they're known as quite left-leaning. So this isn't a right-sided issue that they're pounding on anybody. If there's partisanship, these guys are liberal-leaning. So Joe Biden promised a recovery for everybody as he prepared to take over an economy ravaged by the pandemic 4 years ago. Few predicted what would follow. One of two candidates, Harris or Trump, his predecessor, will succeed Biden in January as millions prepare to elect a new U.S. president. It's going on now. This is written just a couple of days ago. Here's how the world's largest economy fared under Biden. Here we go. This is what it looks like. That was quite a roller coaster right there. And that, just so that you know, it's going from, hang on, I gotta unlock it. From 21 to 24. So that's pretty rocky on there, wouldn't you say? Here we go. The
Yeah,
shockwaves
and
unleashed.
I'll say this, you know, the president has less.
I'm listening. Do we lose you?
Sorry about that. The president has less. He inherited that right after the COVID and all that. So it's kind of it would probably look something like that no matter what president would have been
I have to
there, in
agree.
my opinion.
Yeah, I have to agree. Yeah, because this isn't. I'm not leaning one way or this. Just reading the article. The shockwaves unleashed by COVID-19 are still rippling across the world. When Biden took office in January 21 in the U.S., many other economies, they set the stage for an extraordinary rise in inflation. For months, the White House and Federal Reserve insisted the factors driving the surging prices were transitory. Now that I do, I mean, that's best guess stuff going on there, and that's what that turned out to be. And I'm not laying blame. I'm not blaming Biden on that. By the
Yeah.
time the consumer price index peaked, reaching its highest level in a generation in 22, officials had changed their minds. The Fed embarked upon an aggressive campaign to tackle inflation in March of 22. Jesus, remember that. Interest rates cut to close to zero at the outset of the pandemic were increased at 11 meetings. 11 of them to a 2-decade high. Suddenly, the central fear looming over the U.S. was not a runaway inflation, but the specter of recession. And this is how the jobs looked. Things kind of got jostled around there a little bit. There we go. Now, did you see the jobs report from the other day?
Not for
12,000.
November. Oh yeah,
It was just
for the revised. Yes.
yeah, 12,000. So such effects had failed to materialize. The U.S. economy remained remarkably resilient. We were just talking about that. Millions of jobs were created in the labor market. It just some of its recovery in there. Non-farm payrolls, the key monthly measure used to take the temperature of the U.S. economy, held firm. Unemployment slipped to lows not seen in half a century. Can't argue with that. About 399,000 jobs were added each month in 22 on average, followed by 225,000 each month in 23. While growth has trended lower over the past year, the essentially flat line in October amid disruptions reached by strikes. You did see where Boeing, they did sign a contract, those guys did, for
Good.
33,000. So I bet that's going to affect correct executive branch. We got it loud and clear, crystal clear. These guys, they scare me. There we go. The Fed started cutting rates in September when officials at the central bank made their next decision on Thursday, 2 days after the election. They are widely expected to cut rates further. So the food prices seem to be a big deal. I don't know how much shopping you do, but it has been a kind of a shocker on food prices for me when I go out, like cereal, like regular box cereal, which I don't eat a lot. But when I looked at it, it was like some of it was $7. I couldn't believe it. But this is what it looks
Yeah,
like.
it's terrible. I've got a 17-year-old
Oh Jesus!
that an endless pit.
And it costs you apparently 22% more.
Yes, it does.
So let's kind of cut to this. Struggling a little bit here on this. What for Biden's predecessor, the potential success, no barometer of U.S. economic success was greater than Wall Street. That is an undeniable fact that Wall Street is pretty happy these days. Wouldn't I? That's undeniable, right?
I think so. Yes.
So what is it that, I'm going to move off this. What is it that, help me understand this, everybody. Right? Yep, food companies are making record. I wonder about that. Is that true? I wonder. I want that stalls me out because I wonder how do you I wonder if that's so. I believe you. So why is it then? Let's drift off into supposition land. Why is it that it seems to be the general consensus that the economy is that it's in such a tough place? Where is that coming from? Did I lose
I
you?
apologize, Andy. It cut out again. This my internet's giving me crazy these last 2 weeks here.
I was just asking with all the. It seems if we look at this, there's food has gone up. There's so many things that have gone up, but the stock market seems to be okay. I mean, is it food prices that's got people scared and thinking the economy's worse than it is? That's what I'm trying to figure out is how
Food,
things are
gas,
versus how they feel.
electric, everything. Everything that we use every single day has gone up. With that inflation. So as everything's gone up, so is the companies who have Exxon and all these companies that's driving the stock market up. I mean, they're doing better. The food companies, like Wendy said. So yeah, I think that as they go up for fuel cost or whatever it is, the increase in food prices, the companies do better, the stocks do better. So yeah, I think that's the issue is inflation. It takes people's cash away. I mean, that's
Yeah.
what it does.
It seems to me. It seems to me that what people are talking about, and I mean, I talk to a lot of people out in the real world. It's not just news. I take the news pretty much with a grain of salt. I think the word was gaslighting. That I'm pretty sure about that. But I think seems like what's motivating a lot of folks is how is it going to be? I mean, the message is clear. Is there fear of continuing on the process that we're in right now? Is it going to get worse? I mean, isn't that what people are afraid of? That's what scares me a little bit, to be honest. Did I lose you? We gotta get this internet thing figured out, buddy. That's all right. That's all right. Maybe we should. It was kind of struggling technology wise. Tell you what we're going to do is. Do you have any final thoughts, Rodney? Do you have anything that you want to add?
No, just good luck with your candidate on election day. Sorry, my internet's. We'll get that corrected next week. It's But good luck with your candidate today, and hope all goes well.
Yeah. Sorry, folks. We're just going to kind of cut it off early because we're having some technical stuff. So God bless everybody. God bless America. Hope your person wins. Rodney, we'll see you next week. Okay.